This week, opposition reiterates that student signatures pathway should remain in place.
The state government consults West Australians about the Rottnest Island's future.
Lots of people have said they can't afford to go because they don't feel that they get value for their money.
457 visa holders plan a protest against education fees by bombarding the Premier's office with emails.
And WA live animal exporters sign a memorandum of understanding with Chinese company representatives.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. First this week, the state opposition denied they've run a scare campaign regarding the removal of student signatures around the bell tower. Cassandra Dawes reports.
After the opposition spoke out against the removal of the student signature pathway surrounding Bell Tower 2 weeks ago, Labor leader Mark McGowan came out this week defending his party's decision to raise the matter.
Well, they're the ones who are destroying the tiles. I'm not making it up. They are doing it. So the fact that they're destroying a piece of West Australian history is worthy of comment, and I'm going to continue to raise those issues.
Mr McGowan's response came after Planning Minister John Day flanked the critics in Parliament House.
Mr Speaker, it's clear the opposition is very keen on scaremongering in relation to this issue, rather than accurate information.
Mr Days said the MRA did intend to move the tiles to other areas due to construction of Elizabeth Quay. Unfortunately, they are not strong enough to be moved and reapplied. However, the Minister emphasised the signatures will be used in a new form. Schools which participated in the project will also receive a digital photographic archive.
What I can assure members and the community, Mr Speaker, is that just as there has been a physical representation of the children's signatures there on the tiles, that will be recreated, I think, in a better form, in a much longer lasting form for the future.
But the opposition remained steadfast on their opinion, reinstating the government should never move the tiles. Cassandra Dawes, WAMN News.
The government is asking for your opinion about the future of Rottnest Island. A draft management plan was released and will be open for comments until June. Here is reporter Josef Barker.
Thanks, Danielle. Tourism Minister Lisa Harvey released a draft management plan this week for Rottnest Island that was developed by the Rottnest Island Authority to cover the next 5 years. The plan is available for community comment for the next 2 months.
So what we're launching today is a 20-year management plan that gives us a roadmap over the next 20 years. And then we also have an interim 5-year management plan which gives us the snapshot of what the Rottnest Island Authority will be attending to over the next 5 years.
We believe that the plan seriously makes a turning point for the history of Rottnest. Through this plan, we are inviting private investment through the operation of businesses on the island. I'd like to stress that we are not in any way suggesting that any part of Rottnest is for sale. Rottnest is a great state-owned asset, and this plan identifies ways that we'd like to see businesses operate on the island to provide better services both now and into the future.
The plan proposes a range of measures to increase the amount of visitors to the island without damaging the natural ecosystem. The public comment period finishes on the 6th of June 2014 and the draft plan is available to view online or at Rottnest Island Authority offices. Josef Barker, WAMN News.
And this week, Eric Moxham, the convener for the Rottnest Society, was interviewed about his views towards the government's draft management plan for the island. Howard Sattler spoke with him this week.
Eric, you say if adopted, the government's vision for Rottnest is the beginning of the end for the West Australian getaway. How come?
Well, the vision, I think, is really out of focus. It's not shared by, I think, a lot of people a lot of island lovers, including some employees and the volunteers who work on the island and so on.
Rottnest is already losing out to places like Bali for price mainly. And the Rottnest Island Authority suggests that more competition from the private sector would drive down prices to encourage more locals to holiday there. Don't you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, some locals have stopped going because they can't afford it already. And I take a lot of convincing that putting accommodation in the hands of private investors and private operators will actually drive prices down. It's much more likely to drive them up. If they had real competition around the island, then and say for even the ferry service taking people over, if there was competition, you might see prices come down.
So I get the impression you don't want, or the society doesn't want it to be known as an international tourist resort.
I would love it to be seen as an international tourist resort for its uniqueness, and its uniqueness is that it is a low-cost, wonderful island, largely undeveloped.
To my best knowledge, you've been battling this issue for about 30 years.
Since 1984. Yeah.
Indeed. And do you think it's crunch time now? Do you think your members are heading for inevitably losing this battle?
Absolutely crunch time. If they don't get off their backsides, and if we can't get to people that really count and say, you must not do to this to Rottnest Island, it's the only island we've got close to the mainland, you're going to make it into a magnetic island like in Queensland, you know, where it's wall-to-wall houses.
We've had huge people turn out for protests to try and save sharks from culling. Think you can get the same numbers out to save Rottnest?
I think we can do something about it. We'll have some public meetings. We need to get a debate going, and at the moment there is no debate. This time we have been deliberately excluded from any consultation, as has the rest of the public, and when the public saw that submission statement earlier this week that they can respond to, that is really the first time they've heard about any of this stuff.
Sounds pretty ominous to me.
It's ominous.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Howard.
Approximately 25 demonstrators submitted 1,000 signatures to Greens MLC Lynn McLaren. The group is urging that the government review the cases of 2 women jailed for murdering their partners. The women were victims of domestic violence. Former WA Attorney General Jim McGuinty also attended the demonstration.
It is extremely unfair that these 2 women remain in prison after 18 years and 14 years respectively. It is time they came out. The Attorney General should be reviewing their cases, and that's what we're calling for today.
457 visa holders campaigner Dean Keating is calling for parents to express their anger over education fees by sending emails to Premier Colin Barnett and Education Minister Peter Collier. The campaign has gained momentum, with Carter Sinn Féin requesting a meeting with the Education Minister.
Well, I'm just hoping that they can answer all the questions. What we're trying to present to them is that there's no business case for this to be successful, there's no economic case for this to be successful, and on the human side it's a disaster. We done a poll there recently, and nearly 50% of them have said that they're going to either leave WA or they'll have PR. And the other 50%, 0% have actually said they have the capabilities or the means to pay this fee.
And here is Zarif Alibhai with a summary of top stories making news around the world.
Western Australia's live animal exporters signed a memorandum of understanding with representatives from a Chinese company. Agriculture Minister Ken Baston said the memorandum also addressed the topic of animal welfare.
Western Australia has a very good track record, Australia has a good track record, and if we don't export to those countries, and we have SCAS of course, then if there is any animal welfare issues, then it does help to clear those up, because we actually set the standard.
Meanwhile, in Ukraine, interim Interior Minister Arsen Avakov commented on Facebook regarding siege at police building in Slaviansk. Mr. Avakov's comment come as the country is polarized by pro- and anti-Russian demonstrators. It's reported that other government buildings in 2 eastern cities in Ukraine are also occupied by Russian supporters. Zarif Alibhai, WAM News.
That's all we have for you this week. Thanks for watching.
For the latest news, please hop onto our website, Facebook and Twitter.
See you next Sunday. Good night.
Good night.